You're watching ITV Channel Television. At 6:30 we'll have your national and international news. But first, it's the ITV News for the Channel Islands.
Hello and welcome to ITV News. The headlines on Channel this evening.
Up in smoke are millions being lost in tax money because the islands won't lift a ban on cannabis. A growing campaign says it's time for change.
By bringing in a system of regulation, we can help keep cannabis out of the hands of our kids and into a regulated environment.
Also on the programme, building pressure. One of Jersey's big private developers hits out against the government's plans to build an international finance centre.
Plus, getting the royal seal of approval from brand new youth arts centre to the world's rarest tortoise. Princess Anne takes a tour of Jersey.
And why being Guernsey's mascot for this year's Marathi is a dream come true for this footy-mad youngster. First tonight, pressure is growing on the island's governments to legalise cannabis. Campaigners argue it could provide valuable tax funds for public services as both Guernsey and Jersey states look for new income to solve the looming tax crisis caused by an ageing population.
And in Guernsey today, the Treasury Minister has told ITV News he is personally in favour of regulating and taxing cannabis. Drug authorities warn regulation would be a mammoth task, and there are other dangers. Today, Rob Moore has been looking at the economic arguments of legislation and how willing we are to condone cannabis.
Colorado's fields of green, and while it's all going up in smoke, it is making money, reportedly around $50 million from the cannabis tax's first year. And Colorado's blazing a trail in legalization. In London today, the Deputy Prime Minister backed decriminalisation.
The health harms go untreated, we incarcerate people who should be treated, and we let people go off scot-free who should be incarcerated. It's just all the wrong way around.
Those words will serve as an endorsement for the Channel Islands' growing legalisation campaign.
In the UK, there's an estimated 3 million regular users of cannabis, and this market's been valued at £6 billion, and this is just gifted straight to organised crime. So while our deserving kids can't have free school milk, criminals are driving around in flashy sports cars, and that's not right.
The islands could look very different under cannabis-friendly rules. Imagine St. Peter Port's coffee shops serving more than just coffee, or derelict greenhouses filled with cannabis growers. Well, a petition calling on Guernsey and Jersey to lift their ban on cannabis has now gathered more than 1,000 signatures. The campaigners argue it could reduce crime and boost the economy. Today, Guernsey's Treasury Minister was again leading talks with deputies on his current tax reform plans. He says a cannabis tax is not part of his review, but he did say this.
Prohibition of cannabis is something which perhaps hasn't succeeded, and we have all the costs of policing that and so on. And I think there may well be some merit in us looking at the regulation of and therefore possibly the taxing of cannabis, and therefore it becomes a revenue source rather than a drain on revenue.
But those leading Guernsey's drug strategy say regulating it would be a huge task.
There's huge amounts to sort of think about here, not only sort of the money side of it, but also the health harms that we have with cannabis. The regulation actually implies that young people wouldn't be able to access the cannabis anyway. There would be an age restriction on it, but that to me allows young people, it would be far more accessible.
Guernsey states are looking at softening some drug laws. They plan to review sentencing for young people for minor cannabis offences. But it's still a long way off the legalisation some are calling for, and it will likely take a much bigger campaign to spark a Colorado cannabis culture in the Channel Islands. Rob Moore, ITV News.